There is a force operating in every conversation you have ever had. It was present in every negotiation, every relationship, every moment someone changed your mind without you realizing it had happened. It lives beneath the surface of words. It breathes inside silence. And it works most powerfully precisely when you believe you are thinking freely. We call it persuasion. We call it charm. We call it leadership. But these are only comfortable masks worn by something far older, far more precise, and far more dangerous. The ancient thinkers had a word for it. Modern neuroscience has a diagram for it. And yet most people walk through their entire lives as both its instrument and its victim, never once pausing to understand the mechanism that moves them. What you are about to hear is not a warning. It is not a condemnation. It is a map. Because the secret language of manipulation is not spoken by villains alone. It is the hidden grammar of all human influence. And the moment you learn to read it, the world will never look the same again. The theater you mistake for reality. Most people experience life as a sequence of events happening to them. A conversation unfolds, a decision is made, a relationship shifts. And from the outside, these moments look spontaneous, the natural collision of circumstances and personalities. But this is the first and most consequential illusion the mind accepts without question. Beneath every human interaction, there is an architecture. Invisible to the untrained eye, it is constructed from something more powerful than words. Framing. The way a choice is presented determines how it is perceived. The way a question is asked shapes the only answers the mind considers possible. The way silence is held can communicate dominance or vulnerability, intimacy or threat. None of this is accidental in the hands of those who understand it. Reality, as most people experience it, is not raw. It arrives pre-processed, filtered through the lenses of social conditioning, emotional memory, and deeply embedded psychological patterns. The stories we tell ourselves about who we are, what we deserve, and what others intend toward us, these are not observations. They are constructions. And constructions can be entered, rearranged, and rebuilt by an external mind that understands their architecture. This is the territory that few dare to explore, not because the knowledge is inaccessible, but because confronting it requires admitting something unsettling, that we are far less in control of our own responses than we believe. That the self we defend so fiercely is, in many ways, a fortress whose gates are left unlocked from the inside. The architecture of consent. Here is the first principle the study of manipulation reveals. Human beings do not respond to reality. They respond to their perception of reality, and perception is not neutral. It is not objective. It is a river whose course is shaped by every belief, fear, desire, and wound you have ever carried. This means something profound. It means that whoever controls the frame of an interaction controls its outcome, often without the other person ever suspecting that a frame existed at all. When a skilled manipulator speaks, they are not arguing with your conclusions. They are quietly rearranging the premises from which your conclusions flow. By the time you reach your decision, it feels entirely your own, because in your experience, it is. This is why the most effective manipulation never announces itself. It does not arrive wearing a threatening face, it arrives wearing the face of reason, of care, of inevitability. It makes you feel seen before it makes you feel moved. It builds trust before it builds direction. And once your emotional architecture has been engaged, once you feel understood, the rational mind follows willingly, believing it is leading. What this reveals is something startling about the nature of autonomy itself. We speak of free will as though it were a fixed quantity, something we either have or do not have. But the truth the psychology of influence exposes is that autonomy is a spectrum, and it is constantly being negotiated by every social interaction we enter. The question is not whether you are being influenced. You always are. The question is whether you are aware of it. What Machiavelli saw that we refuse to hear. In the early 16th century, a Florentine diplomat sat in political exile and wrote what would become one of the most feared and misunderstood books in human history. Niccolò Machiavelli was not, as his legacy suggests, a teacher of cruelty. He was something far more dangerous. He was an honest observer. In The Prince, Machiavelli did not tell rulers how power should work in an ideal world. He told them how it actually works in the world that exists. He observed that human beings are motivated not primarily by reason or morality, but by perception, fear, and desire. He wrote that it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Not because love is worthless, but because fear is more reliable as a mechanism of social control. He saw that appearances, not substance, govern public judgment. That the prince who appears virtuous will be trusted more than the prince who is virtuous but cannot project that image. What Machiavelli understood, and what made his contemporaries recoil, was that influence operates through psychology, not through truth. You do not win hearts by being right. You win them by making people feel that you understand them, that you are aligned with them, that their interests and yours share the same gravity. Strip away the centuries of political context, and what Machiavelli left us is a psychological manual, a study of how perception is engineered and why it matters more than almost anything else in the realm of human relations. He was not celebrating manipulation. He was illuminating its mechanics so that those with eyes to see could recognize the game being played around them every single day. The machinery beneath the mind. To understand how manipulation works, you must first understand how the mind processes experience and what it prioritizes above all else. The subconscious mind is not a passive storage system. It is an active filter. Every second, your nervous system receives an estimated 11 million bits of sensory information. Of those, conscious awareness processes roughly 40. The rest is handled automatically, sorted, categorized, and responded to according to patterns built from years of lived experience. This means that the vast majority of your responses to the world around you are not chosen. They are retrieved. Emotional states are central to this process. When you are in a state of fear, the brain prioritizes threat detection. When you are in a state of trust or warmth, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for critical analysis, becomes less dominant, and the limbic system, the seat of emotional processing, takes the lead. Skilled manipulators understand this instinctively. They do not engage your logic first. They engage your emotional state, and then logic arrives to rationalize what emotion has already decided. Belief systems function as invisible frameworks. If you believe the world is fundamentally dangerous, you will interpret ambiguous social signals as threats. If you believe you are unworthy of respect, you will unconsciously accept dynamics that confirm that belief. These are not weaknesses of character. They are patterns, and patterns, unlike personality, can be examined and interrupted. Identity is perhaps the most powerful lever in all of human psychology. When a manipulator appeals to who you believe yourself to be, your values, your self-image, your sense of loyalty, they are no longer influencing your decisions. They are influencing the very author who makes them. At that level, resistance becomes almost impossible, because to refuse would be, in your mind, to betray yourself. The mirror and the mask. Here, then, is the revelation that this entire journey has been building toward. The secret language of manipulation is not primarily a language of words. It is a language of mirrors. Every effective manipulator, whether conscious or unconscious in their method, is performing the same fundamental act. They are reflecting back to you a version of yourself that makes you feel recognized, understood, and validated, and then they are steering that recognition toward their own ends. This is why manipulation is so difficult to detect from the inside, because it begins with what feels like connection. And connection is what the human nervous system is wired, above all else, to seek. The deepest manipulation is not coercive. It is seductive. It does not push you toward a conclusion. It arranges your interior landscape so that the conclusion you reach feels like it originated within you. This is what Machiavelli understood about the nature of power. The prince who can make his subjects feel free while guiding them is more powerful than any tyrant who rules through force. Force creates resistance. Perception creates compliance. But here is the reversal. The insight that transforms this revelation from a source of despair into a source of liberation. The same mirror that manipulators use can be turned inward. When you understand that your perceptions are constructed, you become capable of examining their construction. When you recognize that your emotional states are being engaged before your rational mind is invited, you can pause in that space between stimulus and response and choose. Viktor Frankl called that pause the last of all human freedoms. Between stimulus and response lies a space. In that space lives your awareness, and in your awareness lives the only true power you have ever possessed. The power to see the mirror for what it is, rather than mistake it for the face of reality. Becoming the observer. Knowledge of this hidden language is not meant to make you paranoid. It is meant to make you present. And presence, radical, grounded, self-aware presence, is the most effective defense against manipulation that has ever been discovered. Begin with observation, not of others, of yourself. Notice the moments when a conversation makes you feel suddenly urgent, suddenly defensive, suddenly eager to agree. These emotional spikes are not random. They are responses being triggered. And the first step toward reclaiming your agency is simply to notice when it is happening. Practice the pause. Before responding to any high-stakes social situation, a negotiation, a conflict, a moment of pressure, create a deliberate delay, a breath, a moment of internal inquiry. Ask yourself, is this response arising from my values, or is it arising from my emotional state? The answer will often surprise you. Examine your identity. The beliefs you hold most tightly about who you are, your loyalty, your pride, your sense of duty, are precisely the ones most vulnerable to manipulation. This does not mean abandoning them. It means holding them consciously rather than automatically, so that no external actor can use them as levers without your awareness. Cultivate emotional literacy. The more precisely you can name and understand what you are feeling in any given moment, the less that feeling can be silently weaponized. Emotions are not enemies of reason. Unexamined. Emotions are. Bring them into the light and they become information rather than vulnerability. And finally, study the language itself. Not to become a manipulator, but to become fluent in a grammar that is being spoken around you constantly, in advertising and politics and intimate relationships. Fluency in any language begins with awareness, and awareness in this domain is the beginning of freedom. But it changes everything. We began with the observation that something invisible was shaping the world around you. That beneath the surface of every conversation, every choice, every moment of connection or conflict, a deeper architecture was at work. A grammar of perception, emotion, identity, and reflection. Now you have seen it, and seeing it changes nothing and everything. Nothing, because the forces themselves do not disappear simply because you have named them. People will still frame choices to guide your decisions. Emotions will still rise before reason arrives. The mirrors will still be held up. But everything changes in the space between stimulus and response. In that pause, thin as a breath, vast as a life, the awareness you have cultivated becomes the most radical act available to a human being. The act of seeing clearly. Machiavelli did not write to create tyrants. He wrote to end the naivety that allows tyrants to flourish. And perhaps that is the final secret hidden inside this hidden language. The most powerful thing you can do in a world built on perception is simply to perceive. The world does not happen to you. It unfolds through the quality of attention you bring to it.